So, I welcome all of you to the Sutta teaching session. As you all know, we are not conducting a Dhamma sermon or Sutta related particular sermon these days. Instead, we are conducting a question and answer session, basically discussing practice related questions. And if you have any question related to your own practice, so you can ask those questions. Or again, if you have any Dhamma related question, that also we can try to answer. And we already received a couple of questions from, I think, Sundaram. What's its name? Somasundaram. Yeah, Somasundaram. And maybe Jennifer can present them and we'll see how much we can cover today.
Sounds good, Bhante.
Yeah.
So the first question is, I could notice that while seeing, listening, and other encountering situations, the thoughts are arising differently according to the situation. But during the discussions, while listening, I could notice during the conversations, once the words are received, there are very quick perception judgments happening in the mind, and then it's quickly identifying and go after that ego. Sympathy is registering based on the conversations. Even though it's not me generating that one, but it is getting registered for a moment, and based on that, the reply is happening to that person in that moment, in the body, also in discomfort feelings. Even though I'm aware of the situation, but have only seconds to reply, which is something very difficult to manage. Could you please advise on how lay people and monks can respond to such situations?
No, basically, this kind of emotional reactions immediately can happen, but our practice help us to recognize it and without immediately or impulsively reacting to them. So as we develop mindfulness, we have a kind of a arresting mechanism, we can say. So whenever such emotion happen, whenever an urge happen, rather than immediately impulsively reacting, we have some kind of a capacity as we again and again develop the mindfulness practice, so to recognize it. And when we are able to recognize it, then we have a kind of a ability to choose what we really want to do. Am I want to talk right now? Am I want to do something immediately, or I can simply wait till something is happening? So likewise, so as we are continuing the practice, our emotions are known to us. Emotions are very much recognizable, and we are not merely become a victim of an emotion. So that's the thing. But anyway, we can't say that we are not feeling at all. So we may be feeling it. We may be able to feel everything and we may be really sensitive. But what is the action to do? So what is the proper action to take? So that depends on our intellect, or that depends on so many conditions. So we ourselves have some sort of a judgment, and then there may be some environmental conditions. And at that moment, we may have to have a fair amount of good mindfulness and good intuition. Now, depending on all that, we may be deciding, okay, what's best to do. So therefore, recognizing emotion is something, and doing what is necessary is another thing. So as Somasundaram is telling, so he is able to recognize the emotion, and that is unavoidable. I mean, we are sensitive people and we are living in the sensual world, and so our body is quite sensible, or it's kind of responding to the outside stimuli, and therefore this is quite natural and we don't need to stop that either. So the point is, we are very much aware of this kind of a process, and then in our side now we have a better opportunity to properly attend to it, or properly address to the whatever the matter. Jennifer, did I answer the question, or is he asking something different?
Yeah, I believe you did ask answer the question, Bante.
Okay, okay.
Let's see, are there any other questions? Okay, so we can move on to the second question by the same person. Its primary object is, or actually, sorry, I think grammatically incorrect. I think he's asking, is primary object necessary for awareness, since most of the time I rest on the gaps where I only see stillness and rest on that. Is that okay during the day and also in sitting meditation?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So basically the point is immediately we can't come to this state. So that's why we introduce what we call the primary object. So it becomes a kind of a refuge for the beginner. Say it may be breath, it may be your posture, it may be rising and falling, or even any kind of emotion. So all that is a kind of an anchoring point for the mind, because otherwise mind can wander, or else mind can get into that impulsive behavior. So whenever some kind of a situation happen, so one option is to land ourselves onto the primary object. So you come to the breath and you may feel safe then. Say for example, you encounter a situation where easily you get angry, and then one option is you are coming back to the primary object, that may be the breath. Another option, by the way, is to looking at the mind itself and recognizing anger as anger. That's another level, but not immediately. One can't do that immediately, because there is a possibility that if the mindfulness is weaker, you might not be able to properly handle it, because the anger or that reaction happening within the mind may be more powerful. So your mindfulness, clear comprehension, wisdom might not be that powerful. On such case, you might end up with feeding anger. So therefore, coming to a primary object has a meaning and has a kind of a refuge at one level of your practice. But anyway, later, as we are continuing, there may be a situation where you are experiencing an objectless kind of a mind state, where mind become more free, more relaxed, and calm, quiet, almost inner chatter might have basically subsided. So the mind is capable of recognizing this inner silence. On such case, you don't need a separate primary object. But thing is, even at this stage, we can't guarantee at the very early level that we can fully handle it totally, because the emotions could be very troublesome or fairly intense. Even in such case, probably you might lose your balance, and again you jump into the kind of a frustrated level or excited level. So in such case, you lose the balance. But as you continue the practice, you don't need a primary object, because you can directly watch the emotion, you can directly watch the mind, any kind of a thought, any kind of a desire, any kind of a fetter arising, all that becomes quite evident to the practitioner. On such case, he can handle it. He can return back to the calmness, he can return back to the equanimity. As we can see in the Indriya Bhavana Sutta, Buddha clearly mentioned this process where someone has seen something through the eyes, but due to the, say for example, its beautiful nature, so we immediately grab that and we immediately have a kind of a greed or some kind of an attraction. So then again the mind become agitated. But previously mind was in a equanimous state. So he's a fairly developed yogi, and he is able to maintain a good equanimous state. But unfortunately, due to this present vision, some kind of excitement has happened. Agitated state has happened. Now Buddha's advice is to come back to the original state, that equanimous state, which is quite simple, relaxed, sublime, calm, quiet, no tension, all that is there. So therefore, that is the kind of an ongoing practice it has to be. So one recognize this calmness, recognize this equanimous state, and try to dwell there as much as possible amidst all these sense impingements. So you are dealing with sights, sounds, smells, tastes, tangibles, and the thoughts. Again and again the excitement can happen, but you should return to the equanimity as quickly as possible. So that is the advice, that is the kind of a strategy Buddha is very much like advising, preaching in the Indriya Bhavana Sutta. So this is what we are supposed to do at that level.
Thank you, Bhante. And yes, Sean, you have a question. Feel free to unmute.
Thank you, Jennifer. So, Bhante, I just want to, I think, when I heard the question number 1, I think it is a situation or scenario we all go through, I guess, at some point in time. Some time to time, even now, it occurs to us, not only in this forum, but in any place. There are times in meetings, at work, individuals might raise these type of questions, and sometimes the answer, but the probably might respond with the incorrectness, since it is not directed to you. At what point in time should I or should we be interrupt, or if it is not your the time to sort of share that, because it's all about that matter of what is important to identify and then to share what is right. So the rightful information is not being deliberated, and in such case, how should you sort of I hope you understand the dilemma, and in such case, how should you sort of validate it and respond to the question, or should you just ignore at all?
No, in case, now assume that you are in a scenario where someone has raised a question and maybe someone else has given a wrong answer, and even though it is not directed at you, but you know the correct answer, but you need to wait till the right time comes, because it is not your business, so it is not your exactly pointed to you, but someone else has answered that. But you might feel, okay, it is not the right answer, there may be a better answer, but that is a separate thing. Then you have to diplomatically participate in the discussion, telling, okay, once that person has answered that, and when things are happening in a smooth way, then you need to raise hand, or in a polite way you need to intervene and then properly present your idea. So that should be a way that the previous person's emotions are not hurt, like, because immediately if you jump to the situation and simply say condemn the person or criticize the answer, then it's not going to be a healthy meeting. Then we are very much like get into arguments even, because we should remember that the other person's emotions also, and meetings are there not to every time accept what they are telling. So we should be able to give a better idea. That's already should be welcomed. But how we are telling that, how we are sort of communicating that, really matters. And particularly when we are showing certain say loopholes in someone else's answer, we have to be very careful, because the other person shouldn't feel offended or shouldn't feel condemned or criticized, belittled. So in a very diplomatic way, in a fairly smooth way, that we need to address that issue. So that's why Buddha particularly has mentioned, related to a person who is pointing out someone else's fault, for example, chodaka, sometimes mention it in Pali as the chodaka. So how to be a good chodaka, how to be a good person who is pointing someone else's say mistake, someone else's fault. So there Buddha mentioned, okay, first you look at yourself. Are you in a good mood? Are you in a balanced mood? Are you emotionally excited, or you are able to maintain your balance? On what kind of a ground are you now trying to tell the point? Are you in a sort of want to criticize the other person, look down the other person, or you are in a kind of a kind heart to tell the truth and show the proper answer? Are you in a kind of a kind heart? So that's another criteria Buddha mentioned you need to check before you accuse another person. And next is that the other person, is he in a good mood, rather than he is in a hurry mood or in a upset mood. So that should be not that shouldn't be the time that you should be telling the whatever the accusation. But the other person also has to be in a somewhat proper acceptive mood. Then you can properly communicate the issue. And also the right time. So in a way, this is also some sort of a right time. So is it the right time? So these kind of different areas Buddha ask us to check before we immediately say interrupt another person or basically accuse another person. So that is mentioned in certain suttas. I can't exactly remember the name of the sutta. But these kinds of, I think, 5 points are there, 5 or 4 points are there, Buddha is asking to verify within ourselves. So basically, it's a kind of an introspection that Buddha is asking us to do, rather than immediately jumping. So he is asking first, okay, you may know the answer, but check yourself. Are you in a good mood? In which intention, what intention are you now trying to tell that? Is the other person in a good mood? So likewise, all these things they are in a way helpful for us to maintain a good relationship. Because if we tell the truth and the other person being really condemned and criticized and being hurt, and then that's very difficult, because now we are in a meeting, because many other people are also there. So they also might feel embarrassed, because when we are pointing one person and looking down that person, and so people take things personally. That's the issue. If they are simply fairly advanced, then they might not take the thing personally. Rather, they simply take, okay, this is the point that he is criticizing. This is the answer he is criticizing, not me. But what happens is, people stand for their answer. People stand for their ideas. People stand for their views. So that is where the issue comes. So then they are trying to defend their view, irrespective of whether it is correct or wrong. Now they are trying to defend, because now they feel threatened, because they recognize or they identify with that answer. They identify with that view. So that is where I think most troubles are coming. So we have to understand this situation in a more humanistic way, and then we can properly pass the message without hurting the other person, but still putting the correct answer, better viewpoint. So I think that is what we need to do.
Very good, Bante. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Looks like we have a pretty quiet group today, Bante.
Mm-hmm. So I think they all want to answer the Somasundaram's questions.
I think so.
Everybody somehow get to know that he has sent a list of questions.
Yes. Okay. The next question. Is it possible for lay people to see their past lives? If yes, what practice do we have to do, and what are the causes and conditions required?
Yeah, so basically this doesn't matter whether you are layperson or a monk. So what requires is what we call the Pubbya Nivasanusati Jnana, but that is not an easy thing, by the way. Because Pubbya Nivasanusati Jnana, in a way, kind of a clairvoyance, where you are able to recognize your past lives, and it may be immediate past life, it may be many past lives. So like that, several things may be there, but the problem is how much capacity, how much concentration, how much mastery in jhana one is having. So therefore, attributing that to a layperson may be very difficult, because the just attaining jhana is not here what we are talking. So one has to do fair amount of jhana mastery, and then only one can use using the particularly the fourth jhana. Typically mentioned that one is attaining these psychic abilities, and these are also not easy for even a monk. If that monk is entirely in jhana and fairly a master in that, probably there may be a fair chance. But nowadays it's very unlikely that even monks are capable of having that. And even if they have that, it may be quite limited. And on the other hand, and sometimes there may be a possibility that you might see something, but still that might not be the correct, and we can't basically verify that. Now say for example, someone is in a kind of a very deep absorption and not really that jhana mastery or various kinds of exercises with respect to jhana that one is conducting in order to attain the Pubbya Nivasanusati, but simply he is in a particular jhana. But anyway, due to some reason, assume that he got a kind of a hallucination, a type of a visualization. He probably might interpret telling that, okay, I have seen my past life. The point is, who is going to verify that? Is Buddha or some another very high caliber person there to verify that? Or are we going to simply acknowledge, accept what this person telling is the truth? So these things are the problems with these kind of issues. Even you might feel completely misled by these hallucinatory type of visualizations, and then you might be going entirely wrong way, different way. And sometimes whoever accepting what you are telling is also might be misled. So all these possibilities are there. So best thing is not to go for those things. So that's why the vipassana is much beneficial. It is more with the recognizing various defilements and understanding our own issues, and recognizing one's past lives is not a must. And there is a very beautiful conversation happened between the Buddha and one monk called Susima. Actually, Venerable Susima was previously a separate ascetic, a different ascetic. He belonged to a different ascetic group, and he came to the Buddha Sasana in view of stealing it from the Buddha Sasana, or rather, we can say he wanted to steal the Dhamma. And interestingly, he is hearing how certain arahants are coming and telling to the Buddha that they are now arahants. Now, what this Susima did was approach those arahants, and he is asking the question: do you have psychic powers? Do you capable of seeing your past lives? Are you able to read someone else's mind? Are you able to see how the other person die and where he is going to be born? Dibba chakku, dibba sota, say Pubbya Nivasanusati. So these kind of psychic powers, now he want to check from these arahants. But interestingly, those arahants are telling, no, I don't have any of these psychic powers. So then the Venerable Susima was kind of surprised, because he was with the view, okay, all arahants should have this capacity. And then he went to the Buddha and he complained that I was expecting this kind of an answer, but they all are telling that they are anyway what they call there are separate category of arahants called I can't remember the name. There are two categories. Typically, in terms of the arahants, there are two categories: Upatobhaga Vimutta and the other category is called Panya Vimutta. So the other Arahants are telling we are Panya Vimutta. So liberated through wisdom. And interestingly, then Buddha also explained Dhamma to Venerable Susima, and he also became an Arahant, and that's he also a Panya Vimutta, liberated through wisdom. He also didn't have any psychic powers, but he still is a Arahant. So therefore, going after psychic powers is something that kind of misleading in a way, because very difficult to verify these cases, and again sometimes on the other hand it's a fair amount of waste of time.
Thank you, Bante. So I invite Yasala for the next question.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Bante.
Yeah.
Bante, I would like to share an experience about my sitting meditation.
Yeah.
So let's say during my sitting meditation, I would have a quite calm mind. Let's assume even like with less thought or sometimes with no thoughts. So Bante, now I was, let's say if I am to compare this as like no vitakka vichara at that time, and then also to think that Priti Sukha Ekagrata, how I was just thinking, how is the Priti Sukha Ekagrata during that time? But then I realized, then suddenly I'm going to a comparison between Vipassana Jhana and maybe Samatha Jhana, which I'm not that interested. And I also know that you have mentioned many times on that. So Bante, let's assume that sitting meditation becomes close to Anishrita situation. Is that also, can we also say that is a type of jhana?
From the Vipassana point of view, yes, we can say so, because in the Vipassana jhana, the first jhana, second jhana fairly straightforward in a way. So say for example, your mind is somewhat concentrated, but now the idea is that concentration is pointed to a kind of a phenomena, kind of realistic phenomena, say for example a feeling, and now you are able to apply your mind to that particular feeling and to investigate that feeling. So then the vitakka is there, so because you are applied the mind, vitakka is there, and then you are exploring that, the vichara is there. And as a result of this practice properly, if one is doing, there may be a possibility that you may get a certain amount of piti, certain amount of happiness, and the instantaneous type of concentration. So the vitakka, vichara, piti, sukha, ekaggata are there. So the jhana factors are there. So one can simply say, okay, this is the first jhana in terms of the vipassana point of view. And when it comes to the second, where your absorption in the sense you don't need to jump again and again to a very far object, very far sensation, very far feeling. Your attention become fairly precise, very refined, so you may be able to recognize another sensation very close. It's almost like you are keeping your applied mind as it is, and you may be observing a different type of object, by the way, different sensation, different feeling, by the way. Previous one has already came and gone, and now it may be a very slight change has happened to a new one, and you are now recognizing that. So almost like vitakka vichara is abandoned, and you are very much maintaining a very same place like attention without jumping to here and there, almost like maintaining a kind of attention to the same place like. So there we can simply say vitakka vichara is not there, but the other three are available. And say you are getting to another situation where particularly when you are seeing the rising and passing away, and you get some sort of a concentration, but still it is not static type of a concentration. It's a kind of a dynamic concentration. But thing is, it turns into more equanimity, no piti and no happiness. It can be more equanimous, even though certain amount of happiness is there, and turn little into equanimity, and then we can say, okay, very much no piti, no rupture, no intense kind of happiness. So the third is there, third jhana is there, and the same thing may evolve towards the fourth jhana. Even that happiness is abandoned now in the complete equanimity. So even at the arising and passing away level, one can come to the fourth jhana, where the mind has become fairly equanimous, but the process is quite dynamic. But same thing can be said for another level, where mind has let go of the object, and now mind has become temporarily free. There is no object. And now what you are telling, that anisita state is what one is experiencing. Anisitocha viherati. Where now one is dwelling without an object, without holding to anything, without grasping anything, without landing upon anything. But still mind is not wandering here and there. Mind is not scattered. Very calm, relaxed, quiet. Concentration is there. We can't say it is a type of typical concentration. We can simply say it's a kind of an awareness. So that we can call that as fourth jhana in terms of vipassana.
Okay then. Thank you, Bhante. Thank you for that explanation.
Yeah.
Sannai.
Yeah, Thero and Sannai.
Thank you. I'd like to invite Maura for the next question.
Thank you, Jennifer. Bhante, in regards to what you just spoke about, thank you for doing that. It's like a bit of a map in a way, and it's probably the first time I've heard it. Is there a sutta or something I can read which might have that information?
No, there is no such sutta, but certain teachers like Sayadaw Pandita, Mahasi Sayadaw, so they are the ones actually taken this concept into the literature, where typically people are only talking about the in terms of the suttas. Actually, it is only mentioning about the samatha jhana. But anyway, these teachers are arguing because jhana is typically defined based on the jhana factors. Applied mind, vitakka, vichara is the sustained attention, and piti is the rupture, sukha is the happiness, and then the ekaggata, we can say the one-pointedness, or the samadhi type of, where the mind is now not wavering, not shifting, but rather it stays as it is still in a way. So these are the jhana factors. So these jhana factors are still present in the vipassana as well. So that's why they are arguing one is in the jhanic level even while one is doing the vipassana. But interestingly, there are certain books, and now you can read one book by Sayadaw Pandita, very famous book, In This Very Life. In This Very Life. So in that particular book, he explains this vipassana jhana.
Yes, I have. When I was first Buddhist, that's what the book I was reading all the time. But I'm not. How can I say? When I first became Buddhist, it was very passionate for me to become a Sotapanna. Like I felt like, even when I was Catholic, I felt like every year that went past, I'm not doing what I'm meant to be doing with my life. This kind of thought. And when I became Buddhist, I would cry because I want to be a monk, not a nun. Although I'm female, I want to be a monk. And as you said, I have seen myself as a monk in meditation. The vision came to me of myself, and it looked very much like me, but more Southeast Asian. Because I hope this is not sounding too egotistical, but when I was Catholic and when I was about 3 or 4 years old, I recollected my previous life and would tell my mum all the detail. but then I stopped talking about it.
Right.
And even in Australia, there are primary school kids who talk about when they were in war and how they lost their legs and
Right.
all this kind of thing. So the memories come up,
Yeah.
but
Now,
they are not like intentionally going and
yeah, actually
thinking about
these
war.
are quite different from the Pubbe Nivasanussati Jnana. Actually, what we discussed today is more as a meditative skill that one is developing. But these are the things coming as memories, past memories to the minds of the young children. So it is possible, and again, there are scientists who have done a fairly, reasonable and again unbiased kind of investigation on these kind of cases, and they have proven. I mean, there is a real truth behind these things. It is not a kind of a hallucination. It is rather a certain truth is behind these kind of past life readings. So therefore, we can admit to some extent what you have experienced, what you have told might be truth, and you have nothing to to cheat another person. Rather, you are simply, these things are coming, and probably if your parents have verified that, probably you also might have seen, okay, the past information may be still there, or some kind of a connection you may be able to retrieve.
Yeah. So the passion was there when I first became Buddhist to be Sotapanna, and now it's like it's no longer a passion. I guess it's more practical because I'm just doing, especially now that I'm retired, I can do the meditation every day.
Right.
And it's just become like practical, and that huge passion is gone. But I need to have like a map though, because I feel, I've changed from doing the concentration meditation to more Vipassana now. So I feel a bit lost. And I was just wondering, I know with Sotapanna they say you have to be in jhana and everything with the concentration. So in the Vipassana meditation, that is it just a one-off experience that you get to reach there, or is it a applied thing where you gradually get it?
So few things to clarify. Basically, I mean, telling jhana is a must for Sotapanna is something arguable. So many argue it is not necessary. So jhana is not a must for one to attain Sotapanna. So that is one thing. But if one to attain Anagami, a certain amount of jhanic experience seems necessary as per certain suttas, and therefore reasonably some teachers say, therefore, I mean, Sovan Sakadagami, you don't need jhana, but you want to attain Anagami, to some level of concentration is a must. So that is a different case. Now, on the other hand, now it is quite evident that many people have the desire that I want to become a Sotapanna, and this life shouldn't be wasted, and I at least want to become Sotapanna. Not a bad thing. That is the one actually motivates us. That is the one driving us. So this kind of an ambition has a meaning, great meaning, and that's not a bad thing either. So then that one has to use that as for the continuation of one's practice, because at the beginning the practice is difficult, and you lose the developed mindfulness, concentration, wisdom, everything, and likewise certain difficulties are there, but your desire, that chanda, really drives you. But on the other hand, as you are continuing the practice, there may be a situation that you may come to a level that that mind is now fairly calm, fairly quiet, less proliferation, and you are able to quieten you, and you are very much like grounding yourself rather than making a self. Now what happens is, typically we identify with the body, telling this body is myself, or this body belongs to myself, or I am inside this body, or inside myself there is body. So likewise, Buddha explained how the Sakkaya Ditthi, the personality view being developed with respect to the body. The same thing is explained with respect to other aggregates as well. So basically through Vipassana practice, so what we are trying to do is to penetrate that. So we are continuously doing sort of a practice to investigate, is this body a self? Is there something permanent here? Is there something unchanging here? Is there something that we can call as self? And so that is a kind of an investigation. So that's why the whole Vipassana, in one sense, we can say it's a type of investigation. Again and again, we are investigating to recognize, is there a self? Is there something that I can say as a self? So the more we practice, the more answer becomes, okay, there is no such self. So the body cannot be considered as self. Feelings also. Perceptions, signs, thoughts, consciousness, none of them can be considered as self. So then slowly, you are landing upon the non-self. So it's a kind of a gradual process. So you can't say immediately it is happening. So at first what you may be recognizing is maybe the impermanence. How things are changing. None is remaining the same. Things are transient. So this sort of an understanding is quite important at the beginning, and that is what typically happening in the beginning. And it leads to further understanding, further growth into the non-self.
And is there a point where it accumulates into an experience where all doubt, like a Sotapanna experience, little by little, or is it just one main event?
Yeah, those are also kind of arguable, but I can give you a certain direction towards using one interesting sutta called Kosambi Sutta. So rather than, because the point is, theoretically we all know, okay, there is no self and I need to practice and I need to understand that, I need to realize that. So that is known to many. But the issue is whether am I there? So that's why you are asking this question. Have I achieved Sotapanna? Am I a Sotapanna now? Or what?
No, how do I get there?
Yeah, how do I get there? Yeah, how do I get there? Means that I am not yet a Sotapanna. Yeah, I am not yet there. Yeah. So how do I get there? So basically the practice, Vipassana practice, has to be continued. So when have we arrived there? Is it a really eye-opening situation? Is it a really dramatic event? So these are the ones actually we have to further explore, because different people or different teachers have different opinions, and we can't sometimes deny their opinions either. But Buddha has given a kind of a criteria to verify. So rather than depending on a very instantaneous point, at this instant I have become a Sotapanna, at this instant I had a completely extraordinary experience. So rather than depending on such an instant, we better verify our mind in a long run, in a long period, using the criteria mentioned by the Buddha. I think that is a place that will give us a more, say, reasonable result, or more kind of a realistic, faithful type of a result, rather than simply imagining, okay, I have attained this, I have attained that thing, etc. So that's what I like to mention, than telling, okay, it's a dramatic thing, okay, it has happened like this, there's a blowing happen, or this thing happened, that thing happened. Rather than telling you a particular instant, very extraordinary instant happening, it's better to say, okay, you better look at your mind, okay, you have these qualities now. So let me tell you a few things coming from the Kosambiya Sutta.
Thank you.
Yeah, Kosambiya Sutta is available in the Majjhima Nikaya. So there Buddha is talking about I think 6. He is telling about, give me a second, Channang Saraniyan Dhamma. 6 actually. Cha Saraniya Dhamma. Because I am the so give me, so it's actually, I better actually do this as a separate session because many people are asking this, and I already have covered that at certain retreats, but again and again these things have to be remembered because people are very interested of these matters. So let me just tell one thing, for example. So one thing Buddha is telling is, you know about the defilements, they have different levels. So one level is where you became a victim of a defilement, and there you did a kind of a transgression of a particular precept and you become a victim of a defilement. So what we call it as the vitikkamana kilesa. So there's a defilement that you already have transgressed that. Another level is called the pariyutthana kilesa, where certain kind of kilesa has come to the surface of the mind, and it is now at the surface, and mind has already become colored, conditioned by that kilesa, that defilement, and that we call as the pariyutthana kilesa. The other thing is called the anusaya kilesa, where it is lie dormant, so you can't recognize it, but still it is there, but you can't see any kind of symptom right now, but the potential is there. So these are the 3 levels typically mentioned with respect to the kilesa, the defilements. So the point, very interesting point that Buddha highlights is that the pariyutthana kilesa, when it comes to the surface of the mind, a sotapanna person, the stream winner, should be able to recognize that and abandon that without much trouble. So the point is, say for example, just to give an example, assume that you get anger and you recognize the anger, even though you recognize it, but you don't know either how to abandon it, and even if you try it, you may fail, and say several days you are burning with anger. So such thing can't happen with the sotapanna. Rather, he should be able to quickly recognize it, and he should be able to abandon that fairly easily, and so that is attributed as one skill. So there Buddha mentioned sache bhikkave bhikkhu kamaraga pariyuttito hoti, pariyuttita chittova hoti. So likewise he is talking about the lust, hatred, then tinamidda, sottantopa, and then say restlessness, regretting, and then doubt, and thinking about this world, thinking about different world, and so these are the kind of various thoughts, obsessions in a way, sometimes people are having. Now these kind of obsessions can't be available with the sotapanna for a long time. He can get into a defiled state of mind, but it can't lead to an entire papancha. It can't lead to a papancha for a long time. He should be able to easily abandon that. So that is mentioned as one important characteristic of a sotapanna. I think as practitioners, this is a very, very interesting point for us to look at our mind. Are we having such kind of a capacity now? So there are a few more things actually he mentioned, but I don't want to spend the whole session talking on that. Actually, there are seven points that Buddha given here. We can say a kind of a criteria to look at our mind, do a kind of an introspection. It also has to be a fairly, say, in a wise way, in an unbiased way, And you need to do not just once, maybe several times. And that is the kind of a criteria that Buddha is recommending for us to verify ourselves.
Thank you so much, Bhante. That's very clear.
Okay. Then we can go to the next section.
I'd like to invite Nissarana. Proceed to unmute. Hi, are you able to unmute?
And thank you, Jennifer. Can you hear me?
Yes.
And just continuing that what Moira asked, because it's very interesting this got brought up because very recently, like maybe yesterday or day before, I think, I had the same sort of a discussion with my partner. He's also following the path, and was like what I don't know from my experience, what I understood. I guess this is maybe an insight, Bhante, which I like to share. Is like I felt like this Sotapan and all, because people I know who follow path are very interested in attaining them, or like I guess in some people are chasing, some people want as an end goal. I felt like this is like going to the gym. Like you go to the gym for a year or two, or 1 year, and then one day, like you realize you lost weight or you gain a six-pack or something, but you cannot really pinpoint when that day happened.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what I felt like, because through me, what I notice is like you do the practice day in and day out or whatever, like when I guess at one's capacity, and then I realized like it's just you attain it, and I'm not sure that. I felt it's like there's a day you can tell that, Bhante, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm just wondering, is that something that you sort of mentioned, like it's something that happens, but not like, oh, today I attend Sotapanna. Like, is that what you're trying to say, Bhante?
Yeah, very much like, because kind of there may be some important, very interesting change in your mind has happened, but the point is it may be happening in a very short period, and it's that event might not be even noticeable, but the results are noticeable. That is what Buddha is asking us to verify, not that instance, but rather the results, what has happened after that instance. So we as you have correctly mentioned, so you can't figure out exactly when, which day, at which instant it has happened, but when you are again and again reflecting upon your own mind, probably you get an answer for quite a long time. Okay, now these new qualities are there in the mind. Okay, these capacities are available with the mind now. So that's why it's very difficult for us to trace that exact point. Rather, for a long period of time, if we do this verification, if we do this putting ourselves into this criteria and check within our own mind, then we may get a fairly reasonable answer, either it has really happened or not. But the thing is, in one sense, we need to know another very important point. That is, Buddha want to avoid telling someone is a Sotapanna. So rather than telling it, okay, now you are a Sotapanna, Buddha as much as possible has avoided that. Why is that? Because the problem is, when someone is known that he is a Sotapanna, his practice might be delayed. Because he now feel, okay, I am done, okay, I am free from the apaya, I am free from the lower realms, okay, I am all right now. So that kind of a perception, that kind of an attitude has a big danger to your own practice. Therefore, Buddha hasn't mentioned Sotapanna, Sakadagami, Anagami, those states, intermediate states, at his early teachings. If you refer Sutta Nipata, for example, so those are fairly considered as Buddha's early teachings. So he has never mentioned the terms even Sotapanna. what is mentioned is the fully enlightened, the Arahant. So his target is that he as the uncomparable teacher, he doesn't want to stop in between, rather he encourage to go for the best. So therefore he doesn't want to tell these things. Those are the intermediate steps, and those are not very much like encouraged. But later when people, many people are coming to the sasana and they keep asking the kind of different questions, and you can see in the Majjhima Nikaya suttas, so there Buddha started explaining these things. So therefore there are advantages and also there are disadvantages by knowing these things, because sometimes you can use it as a driving mechanism for you to continue your practice, thinking that I am not a Sotapanna, or I want to become Sotapanna, then it's becoming a kind of a driving force. But on the other hand, when you realize, okay, now I am a Sotapanna, it has another counterproductive impact that you may feel, okay, now I am done, nothing to worry, I can do something else now, because maybe even next life I can handle the other part. So like that you can take a rest. So that is a big disadvantage from the practitioner's point of view.
Yeah, I understand. I think that's a good point, because it's like you attain part of the goal and then you're like, you are done, and then
exactly
no point to rest, no point to
and
practice
again,
a lot more.
and again sometimes it can be fully overestimation also.
Yeah. Yeah, understood. Yeah, I think very good point. One other little point I want to ask first, when you mentioned about sorry, I can't tell that part, but that the past life thing, because I sort of, because I think maybe so slightly, like I come from maybe from an earlier teacher or something that who focus lots on this dharma, and what I notice is like, although some people in that, like in some of them, like, you know, that they can tell a bit of past lives, what is I notice, like this through me, is it's not accurate. Like, you know, some of it is 50% right, 50% wrong. So, but I think what happens is these things is I felt is sort of moved away a bit and came to like sort of your teachings and all that. Is I felt is you get into that, like you chase that, and then that becomes your main goal rather than attaining the practice. So because that it's more like you leave your daily desires and all that aside, and now you have like a different goal.
Exactly.
They don't say it, but that's what I felt like, because now you can do magical things, right? Like that.
Exactly.
And that becomes a huge attraction towards your, so all the meditation, everything is focused on that, getting that more and more refined, rather than, and I think one of the main things I sort of moved away was that call, because I felt that's not what I wanted.
Exactly.
Right? So yeah, that's our that's a commitment. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a really valid point, because the miracles are something that deluding us. So people can simply show that, they can even use that to attract people, and Buddha vehemently deny that, basically. Probably you can remember certain instances where Buddha and the Sangha arrived a certain river bank, and they want to cross the other shore. But Buddha didn't want to cross using the psychic powers, but he waited till the boatman returns. But there was another ascetic who had the psychic powers, and he crossed using his psychic powers to the other side. And then the other monks are telling, okay, Bhante, why don't we cross using our psychic powers? See, that fellow already has gone to the other side using his psychic powers, but we are simply waiting here till the boat is coming. And then anyway the boat came, and all the Sangha get into the boat, and so the boatman properly put them onto the other shore. And later Buddha asked, what's the price for this? What's the cost for you to take us from previous shore to this shore? And then he says 5 cents or something like that. And then Buddha mentioned, so that previous Brahmin, his psychic powers worth 5 cents. That's it. You can see how vehemently he has criticized that. So he hasn't really encouraged that, rather he has condemned that in a way. So that is not the goal. But people are selling that nowadays even, but that is not the Buddha's teaching. Buddha basically there are, in the Dhamma it is mentioned Desanapatiharya, Adesanapatiharya and Iddhipatiharya. Now Buddha didn't really, Iddhipatiharya is what now we are talking, the psychic powers and all these different skills, psychic skills. So Buddha didn't say that is the good thing. Then Adesanapatiharya is where you are reading someone else's mind. So that is also not something Buddha recommend. But what he is recommending, what he is really appreciating is the Desanapatiharya. So if you have the capacity to teach the Dhamma, explain the Dhamma, and give the Dhamma Dana, so that is what Buddha really says. That is really worthy, that is really appreciable. That is what exactly he is giving more value. So therefore going after these psychic powers and measuring someone's capacity using psychic powers is completely misleading. And even Devadatta has the psychic powers.
Thank you very much, Bhante. That cleared actually a bit of a doubt that I had as well. Although I said that. Thank you very much. Many, many thanks. Thank you.
Bhante, it is 10:31 right now.
Yeah, that's a thing. Okay, we'll get the last question from Andrad.
Okay,
yeah.
Sounds good.
Thanks for reminding Jennifer.
I can't wait for you, Bhante.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll make it quick, Thero and Bhante. Just a continuation of that Sotapanna thing. I just wanted to ask, so I just heard from another monk that when you attain that, you can verify by saying Sotapanna Phala Samapatti, Samavadin or something like that. Mm-hmm. Is that something that's in the sutra, or is it something that they just made up thing? I just want to verify that. That's all.
Yeah,
is that something there in the sutta? You can verify it by attaining into that Phala Samapattiya status and determine and go there, something like that, or just want to ask you that one thing.
Actually, difficult to answer that question because now you can attain jhana by determination.
Yeah.
So how you verify, is it a jhana that I am attaining? Is it a type of a concentration I am attaining? Or is it really a sotapanna phala I am attaining? So those are actually the issues. So because someone can easily misled by a concentration, because concentrations are also really, blissful and really fantastic kind of experience. And if one is again and again practicing that, maybe you have the capacity to determine and stay in that jhana, that particular concentration for the set period. And you might assume that I am a sotapanna now. So that is a very misleading area where one can attain a particular jhana but still thinking that you are a sotapanna now. I'm a noble person now. I'm Arya Puggala now. But it's misleading. It's a kind of an overestimation. So therefore it's in a way, that's why the criteria given is not by mere this kind of a concentration based criteria. That's what we need to understand. In the now, say for example, in the Kosambhiya Sutta that just now I have referred, is in the Majjhima Nikaya. So Buddha hasn't mentioned any skill related to the jhana. Buddha hasn't mentioned any skill related to the concentration samadhi at all.
Okay, so I get it. I just wanted to clarify that. Okay, thanks, Bhante.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So anyway, very interesting questions today and hot topic anyway. So people are fully awake. And by the way, the time has passed, and hopefully we'll stop it then here, and we'll get the next. We'll go for the next session, and probably, I think we haven't answered all the questions written by Somasundaram. Am I correct, Jennifer?
Correct. There's one more, Bhante.
One more. So we'll take that next week. I think we have covered a fair amount of his questions. And thank you all for participation. And I think Jennifer is going to continue the session by playing a recording. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay then. I'll make a leave, and thank you very much, Jennifer, for your support, and Thero Sanai.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thero Sanai.